morning and welcome to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Now for today's show, here's attorney Ethel Mitchell.
Good morning. I'm your host, attorney Ethel Mitchell, and welcome to Law Talk. Welcome to all who are listening throughout the world on Radio 1 station 1450 AM, WLDC.com, and News Talk and Law Talk with EthelMitchell.com. Welcome to everyone. We have a great program for you today. Our guest is Keith Waters. He is an expert in civil litigation, particularly personal injury, malpractice, car accidents, and he's going to tell us about what you need to do, what you need to know, what you need to not do if you're ever in that situation. This program is brought to you by my law office, Wills and Trust LLC, where I prepare wills, trust, power of attorneys, medical directives. I also help people with administering estates and trusts. So if you or someone you know needs a will or a trust or assistance with administering an estate, call me at 202-772-1988. That's 202-772-1988. This program is also brought to you by my sponsor, Equity Resources of 10 G Street, Northeast, Washington, D.C. If you want to sell your home for cash, quick, and at a fair price, call them at 202-621-6632. Again, 202-621-6632. As you hear me say every week, law is a very powerful force in our community and in our world. It can help you or it can hurt you. It impacts everything that you do. What you don't know about the law can really hurt you, and what you do know can empower you. Each week, this program, Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell, aims to empower you by bringing you professionals who know the law. So listen and learn. All of our programs are archived on the website LawTalkWithEthelMitchell.com. So if you missed a program, if you missed Ben Crump talking about the many cases that he has held and done to succession, if you missed Donald Temple most recently talking to us, or Chief John Dixon, or if you missed Michelle Thomas, who started our program with an excellent discussion of prenuptial agreements and family law, divorce, or many of the other guests that we've had over the time period that we've been on, go to LawTalkWithEthelMitchell.com, click on the archive button, and you can hear the programs. One of the persons who was especially informative for our church community was attorney Erika Cole. She came on, and I've invited her back to talk to us about the law and churches and how the law impacts church affairs, what you need to know, what you need to do to make sure that your church is in compliance with the law. She is having her annual Church Compliance Conference on Thursday, September 25th. That's Thursday, September 25th. It's all day. It's held at the Camelot in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. The conference features a full day of interactive sessions, expert speakers. Attendees benefit from much critical need-to-know legal information for the faith community, covering topics such as who owns the pastor's sermon and why this matter is important now, recent changes in the law affecting churches. Attorney Cole will present a conference on married to a pastor, making the right money decisions, mental health, the church and the law, both blessings and liability, how volunteers can hurt your church, pastors' compensation and benefits, what you need to know, the church as an employer, knowing all the rules, key laws you should know to protect your religious liberty, church accounting, establishing a strong foundation, and how the Hobby Lobby case affects your church. You may register at www.churchattorney.com. You may register at www.churchattorney.com. So please, if you are a member of a church, if you're on the board of directors, if you're a pastor, if you want to be up on the law as it applies to your church, do go to the 7th Annual Church Compliance Conference, Thursday, September 23rd, 2014. And again, you can contact Attorney Cole's office at www.churchattorney.com. We're having a little difficulty with our expected guest, so I'm going to go out and talk to you. We're going to reverse the program today and talk a little bit about good news, some more good news. And if we still are not able to reach him, then I'm going to do a program on wills and trusts, which I'm always prepared to do, and it's something that my listeners really need to know about. I'm wondering if you all were aware of Monet Davis. This is another good news story that I think is outstanding. Apparently, this is a 13-year-old young lady, a black young girl, who is an amazing athlete. She was part of the Little League baseball, and she is the very first Little League athlete to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. It is my understanding that the magazine cover sold out, or the magazine sold out completely, and that people now have the magazine on eBay selling it for $500. So if you missed it, go online and look up our little girl, Monet. She is a real sensation. She's barely 5'4" and 111 pounds, 8 years old. And she has taken the Little League world by storm. So our children are doing wonderful things. And I want us to recognize that they are really smart, and they are great young people growing into adults. We hear so much negativity in the news and in our world that I want to focus on the positive parts that our people are doing. So it seems as if we are going to talk today, at least until Attorney Waters comes, about some issues that are important for people to know in terms of their personal affairs. Several situations have come up over the past year or two that have highlighted the importance of having wills and power of attorneys that I want to talk to people about right now. If you or your loved one, your stepmother, mother, father, raised you, and they're now, it is critically important that you make sure before they become incompetent that they have in writing power of attorneys for legal and financial affairs, health care directives, and wills and or trusts. And the reason why I say this is people call me up and their loved one, their father, their mother, their grandmother, are no longer able to make these kinds of documents. They must be competent to do them. They've got to know you. They've got to know what they want. They've got to know what they're signing. If you do not have a proper, written, executed, notarized power of attorney, I don't care how often you've been to the bank with your mother or your father, a bank officer has the right to say, no, we're not going to let you get any information about their checks, about their accounts. You may not want to be on their checking account. A lot of people say, well, I'll just fix this by putting my granddaughter or my daughter or someone else on my bank account. But what you don't realize is that when you put somebody on your bank account as a co-owner, then their creditors can get to your money. So, for example, several months ago, I had a lady come to me, and she was having trouble with her mortgage, like so many people. She was upside down. She wasn't able to pay her bills, and her house almost went into foreclosure. And her grandmother, really it was her grandfather, had put her name on his checking account. And I said, do you realize that if you lose your home, or if you get a creditor who gets a judgment against you, then that creditor can come and get your grandfather's money because you are considered an owner. So please, I implore my listeners not to put other people on your bank account. Instead, get properly drawn up power of attorneys that will authorize them to sign your checks, to still do all the things that you need them to do, but not subject your money to attachment by their creditors. Another thing that's important is medical directives. If you don't have advanced medical directives signed, then you may not, and you get really sick, you may not be able to have anybody to make decisions on your behalf if you are at the hospital or when you go to the doctor. The doctor has an obligation to help you, certainly, but if you haven't in writing authorized him to do so, he may not be able to tell the one who comes with you all the time what your situation is, what kind of medicine you should have, what kinds of care you need. Can you be checked into the hospital if you need to go to therapy or some other kind of care? You want to get those things in writing. And although I started out by talking about, our older relatives, everybody really needs this kind of stuff. Everybody. I have the unfortunate situation right now where I'm doing an estate of a 31-year-old child who was, who died in a car accident. And her poor parents are really, struggling with her loss, but also with all the legal technicalities that have to be covered to take care of her affairs. I beg of you to get wills. Even if you don't want to trust, at least get a will. Particularly if you are the child or you are the spouse of or you are in a blended marriage, even if you're in a regular marriage, but especially if you're in a blended marriage where somebody's been married before, or maybe you've been married before, or you have children who are not the children of your current spouse, you truly must be able to protect those children. You must be able to protect your own spouse as well. And that can be done. You can say in your will or in your deed that I want my spouse to be able to live in the house for the rest of their life and be able to still get that house when I die to my children. When we come back, I'm going to tell you several ways in which that can happen. So hold on, and we'll be back.
1450 WOL, where information is power.
HelloBeautiful.com is the website for today's black woman.
Whether you follow the power moves of Michelle Obama and Oprah,
or just want to keep up with the Braxtons and basketball wives.
Whether you need some help with your outfit,
or if you want to clown on someone else's.
Hello Beautiful is helpful hints and guilty pleasures.
Hello Beautiful keeps you connected and gives you a break.
For every part of you, HelloBeautiful.com.
Life insurance companies are praying you don't learn about the little-known but painfully obvious secret of how to win the game of life insurance so that you win and the insurance companies lose money on your policy. I'll share the secret with you even if you don't buy your policy from me. I'm Byron Udell of AccuQuote, and since 1986, we've helped millions of people save a fortune on their life insurance. Call AccuQuote today at 800-500-3353 and ask about the secret. That's 800-500-3353.
Hey parents, do kids think you're out of touch because of the way you dress?
Yes.
Well, say hello to instant style with Fashion On. Just spray Fashion On whatever you're wearing and look cool in an instant. Turn orthopedic shoes into vintage high tops, pleated khakis into skinny jeans. Even clip-on ties become fly gold chains. Just spray, let it dry, and presto.
What about my fanny pack?
You mean your hip MP3 player?
Wow.
What about my bifocals?
You mean your hot pink shutter shades?
Hey, I can't see.
But your kids can see you, and trust me, they see fashion.
Thanks, Fashion On.
Fashion On is not available in stores because it doesn't exist. But that's okay. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Because kids in foster care don't need perfection. They need you. For more information on how you can adopt, go to adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt Us Kids, and the Ad Council.
Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 1-800-746-5120. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 1-800-746-5120. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance. And you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free in-home consultation. 1-800-746-5120. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all states. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 1-800-746-5120. 1-800-746-5120. Sears.
If your child is choking, stand behind them and wrap your arms around their waist. Place the thumb side of your fist against their upper abdomen. Put your other hand over the fist. Now press the fist into your child's abdomen with a quick inward and upward thrust. Repeat quick thrusts until object and airway.
You know how to help your child if they're choking, but do you know how to help them if they have a drug problem? Visit drugfree.org for information, help, and advice.
A message from the partnership at drugfree.org and Prevention First.
Trying to sell your old car? Instead, donate your vehicle to Heritage for the Blind. Pickup is free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-943-1356. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and buses, whether they run or not. Call right now and receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to over 50 locations. Call 1-800-943-1356. Donate your car today. That's 1-800-943-1356.
News Talk 1450 WOLAM, where information is power.
Hello, welcome. This is your host, Attorney Ethel Mitchell. You're listening to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell, and we are going to talk about today wills, trust, and power of attorneys, how to protect yourself, how to make sure that your property goes the way you want it to go. Nobody's been able to take it with you, and so and this is something you can't get away from. So protect yourself. Make arrangements for things that are going to happen. When you are a young adult, a lot of times you feel like you don't need to do it. You don't need to do anything. But in point of fact, a lot of young adults really need to have these documents in place. One of the most difficult situations that I've encountered was a young person who, when I say young, I'm talking about in their 30s, 30s, early 40s, who died without a will and had several children. Let's take that situation. You have life insurance at your office. Okay, most people have life insurance at their job. You may own a home. You may have savings. You may have retirement accounts, and you haven't put anything in place. You haven't, or if you have, you've done like I tell people not to do. You've named your children, your minor children, as the beneficiaries of everything because you know that that's what you want. When you name a minor as a beneficiary, the courts have to step in because that minor is what we call incompetent. They're not able to make legal decisions for themselves. They can't cash checks. They can't do any of those sorts of things. And even if you were married, if you named your children, the spouse may or may not be able to manage that money for your children. If you name your children, the spouse has to report to the court for whatever it is that they use that money for. In fact, they have to ask permission of the court in order to use the money, even for their own children. So, for example, I had a young man who died suddenly. I don't remember if it was a slip and fall or what, because it was some time ago. But he died. He left a $300,000 policy. He had 3 children. The mother of his children came to me and they were not married, but wanted to know what to do. So we went to court. We got a friend of hers appointed as the guardian for these children. That guardian because the court would not appoint her. A lot of times the courts will say the person who has responsibility for the children may have a bit of a conflict between their interest and the children's interest. Not always, but sometimes they will. And so they'll appoint a stranger, more likely than not. It'll be a lawyer who doesn't know you and who now takes over the money that was left for your children, you see. In this case, the court was willing to appoint a friend of the family. That friend of the family had to make a budget and go to the court to get permission. If they wanted to take the children to Disney World, they had to get permission for that. If they and it was $300,000, and this was like 20 years ago, so that was a lot of money, okay? And they had to get permission to buy a computer for the children. They had to get permission to do anything at all with that money. So understand that when you name a minor as a beneficiary, you're putting that person or the guardian of those children in a difficult position. If instead you create a trust and you say, when I die, if my children are less than 21, 35, you can create it. If you create the trust, you can do it any way you want. You can then say that money goes into the trust. You can name a person to be the trustee, someone that you trust to be good with money, to be honest. And that trustee now has the ability, without having to go to court, without having to ask permission, to pay for their college, to pay for their health, education, maintenance, and support. Those are the standards. We call them the HIM standards. Usually that's what we say. If you don't want them to do certain things, then you say, don't buy them a car. Or don't do this, or don't do that with it. It's your trust, it's your money, you can do what you want to with it, and you can make those kinds of distinctions. If, on the other hand, permission has to be gotten from a court, for example, you may have wanted your children to go to private school. And so you would say to your trustee in your trust that I want my children to you can pay for private school. A court, however, if it's a guardianship or conservatorship under the auspices of a court might say, well, no, that child doesn't have to go to private school. If you want to send the child to private school, you send them to private school. And I've heard of this happening, but you can't take the money that is that child's money to pay for that private school.
Even if it has been designated by the person who did the trust.
No. If you say in a trust to do it, then yes, the court's not involved. If it's a trust, the court's not usually involved at all. It stays private. But let's say you didn't name anybody, or you just named your children, or your children are your only heirs. Then you go through probate, the money gets into a guardianship arrangement, and the guardian makes all of the arrangements. They pay a check to the mother or the father or the guardian of the children, but they have to get permission from the court. I mean, I have seen parents in front of the court having to show receipts for the clothes that they bought for the children, you see. And you have to account for it, which you kind of want if you're not there. But then on the other hand, if it's somebody you know and you trust, then it's much better to create a trust and put that money in the trust and say, these are the things that you can use this money for. The other thing that's really good about having a trust for your children is that money does not get mixed up with the money of the guardian or the mother or father of the children. So, for example, you're married, you may have 2 children, and then you die. If you leave, let's say, a life insurance policy, $300,000. If you leave all of the $300,000 to your spouse, let's say you're the husband, the father, and you die, $300,000 goes to the spouse. That spouse gets married again. That's her money. She can do whatever she wants to with it, you see, which may include giving it to somebody else or using it for somebody else. If, on the other hand, you say half of it goes in trust for my children, then $150,000 of that goes into a trust. It's separated. You know, she may still be the trustee, but those children have a right to know how she spent it, you know, what happened to it. You can even name somebody else. You can name 2 people as trustee. You can name a bank or an institution as trustee, and then they become responsible for that money. So you can separate out the money as well. If you have an older parent or an older spouse, you can do the same kind of thing. You can say, if I die before my wife or my husband, then I put this money in trust. I name someone, maybe a child or a friend, you know, an adult, to be the trustee. They take care of my spouse. They pay for her, you know, her needs. They take care of her home, her housing, her clothes, her medicine, you know, whatever she needs. Those are the kinds of things that you can do with a trust.
And I imagine that's the same that families can do in situations of elder care. So if I precede my mother in death, and I want to set up, because obviously, you know, for her care, to assist my sisters in her care.
Exactly.
So is that something that's common?
Absolutely. It's very common, and it's very useful, because a lot of us are what we call the sandwich generation. You know, you've got parents who are still alive, and they may well outlive you. I mean, a lot of parents are outliving their children these days, and it's a great way to protect those parents. It really is, so that the money that you have, whatever portion of it that you want, is set aside for their benefit, you know, and then when they die, you can say who gets it. If there's something left over, then it goes to my niece and nephew, my sisters, my whoever you want, my children, whoever you want. When people come to me, when young people come to, or when anybody comes to me and I say, are your parents still alive? The first question I said, can they take care of themselves? Do you want to leave something for them? You know?
That's excellent.
Because I really believe we should take care of our parents. And so, you know, if they need it, you know. On the flip side of that, if you are an older parent, and you may be getting sick, and you may see down the road that your children will have to take care of you, but you really have enough money. You've set up your financial affairs where you are going to be self-sufficient. You may create a trust yourself and name your child or children as a co-trustee or as a successor trustee to you, and you say to them, the money that's in this trust, the home that's in this trust, is for my benefit as long as I am alive. If you're a couple, it's for both of our benefit as long as we are alive. This money is only to be used for us, you see. And then when we die, this is where it's to go. Now, what have you done? You have created a situation where you remain self-sufficient, even though your child or your loved one who is a trustee is taking care of your financial affairs. They're using it with your money, you see. You're remaining self-sufficient, and as long as you're competent, you can say what happens to that money. You don't have to worry about them taking that money, putting it in their bank account, or their creditors coming and getting your money. You don't have to worry about them getting a divorce and their spouse getting a part of your money. Because you see, when you put somebody else's name, you know, go back around to the beginning, when you put somebody else's name on your account, or when you give somebody your money, then their creditors can come and get it. Mm-hmm. If they're in a divorce situation, the court looks at that money and says, oh, this is in your name. I don't care if you said you got it from your mom or your daddy. This is in your name. So this is marital property, and we can split it, and their half of your money goes taking care of somebody else and not you. So the beauty of the trust is it separates out property and allows that property to be used in the way that you want. Okay? And if you don't like what they're doing, you can fire them and put somebody else in there too. Okay? But it is a great legal way to take care of yourself and to be taken care of. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. Okay?
1450 WOL, where information is power.
Progressive presents Flo's newest jam. Bundling will make you feel like the mayor of Savingsville.
Bundle your home and auto together, and you'll feel like the mayor of Savingsville. Yes, you will. A town famous for the world's biggest puppy.
Bundle your home and auto together and save. Visit Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Home insurance underwritten by Homesite Group, Boston, Mass. and other non-affiliated companies. Available in most states.
What are you going to do with your old car? You can try selling it. You could junk it. Or you can donate it to Heritage for the Blind. Your car will be towed away for free, and your donation is tax deductible. Just call 1-800-943-1356. Heritage for the Blind accepts cars, vans, trucks, and boats. It doesn't matter if your vehicle runs or not. It'll be towed away for free, and you'll be supporting those that need help. Heritage for the Blind is a nonprofit organization that helps the visually impaired live fuller lives. Call right now to donate your car, and as a special thank you for calling, you'll receive a free 3-day vacation voucher to many exciting locations. Call Heritage for the Blind right now. Call 1-800-943-1356. Donating is easy, and your vehicle is towed away for free. Plus, you'll get a free vacation voucher. Call now. 1-800-943-1356. That's 1-800-943-1356.
News1.com is breaking news for Black America. News1.com tells the stories we care about. Our community, our concerns, our world. Uncensored, unapologetic. News One is news from our perspective. One people, one voice. News1.com.
Geico presents Strange Savings Stories. Jason Ray noticed a blue birthmark had appeared on his forehead in the shape of the Geico gecko. Jason felt compelled to switch his car insurance to Geico and save hundreds of dollars with great discounts. By nightfall, the birthmark had disappeared. Jason's wife, Jeannie, thinks it was probably just blueberry jam from breakfast. Jason prefers to believe otherwise.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
If you've got 15 seconds, Geico could help you be a better driver.
Please, don't text and drive. The average amount of time that you'll be distracted from the road while texting is about 5 seconds. In a vehicle traveling 55, you'll drive the length of a football field without seeing where you're going. You might as well be driving blindfolded. When the engine starts, the texting stops.
Manage your policy, get roadside assistance, and more. Just a tap away on Geico's free mobile app.
McGruff here.
The crime dog?
Yep.
I think I'm gonna need your help. I've got an internet bully.
Okay, well, what you do is...
Maybe you could put a virus on her computer. Or a tracking device. Or a bug.
You don't have to do that, all you...
Or maybe we could get an attack dog. You ever see those attack dogs that can, like, rip a person's arm off? Seriously. Or like a SWAT team. A cyber SWAT team or something. Or like an army. Did you ever see that zombie army movie? We should get a zombie army.
Wait. All you need to do to stop an internet bully is delete their messages and never forward them on.
So, no zombies?
No zombies.
Bummer.
Delete cyberbullying. Don't write it, don't forward it. For more information, visit ncpc.org. A message from the U.S. Department of Justice, Crime Prevention Coalition of America, National Crime Prevention Council, and the Ad Council.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
For free inventors information, call 1-800-497-9975. 1-800-497-9975. That's 1-800-497-9975.
.net. I also offer at no cost presentations at churches, private organizations, sororities, fraternities. I also do talks for universities on how to encourage people to give money to their universities. I'm doing one for Coppin State in September. I did one a couple of months ago for them, and I've done quite a few churches, presentations at churches, because this is information I think people really need to know and they need to use. So again, if your loved one needs a will, a trust, or a power of attorney, or help with an estate, call me at 202-772-1988.
So Ethel, big question for you. Do you have to be rich to have or need a will or trust, or to do estate planning? Because that's the big thing. A lot of people that may be listening may think, well, I don't have any money, I'm not rich, and it might be expensive for me to go through this process. What do you say about that?
Well, if you work, you've got something. Even if you don't work, a lot of people have a home. A lot of people have retirement. Most people have some kind of life insurance. Most people have loved ones who, whatever you have, you want them to benefit from it. Even if you don't. I've had clients who were quite elderly and they had outlived their whole family.
Wow.
But they were able to benefit many different kinds of nonprofit organizations. I had a lady who was 100 years old when she passed and gave over $40,000 to each of 5 different nonprofit organizations. For the blind, so others may eat. Money went to her church, and this is money that really and truly helped a lot of people. So whether you have $1 million or not, you don't have to have $100,000. You have something that people can use, and you can benefit a lot of people. In Washington, D.C., in the metropolitan area, homes are selling at $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $800,000. Okay? The home that many of my clients paid $25,000 for, $10,000 for, $8,000 for. I'm doing a deed right now where in the old deed it said, you shall not establish anything on this property that's worth less than $1,000 unless it's stables related to the house.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so that when they bought the house, they may have paid $1,000 for the house, So, but now that house is worth $400,000.
So what if you do nothing? And I often hear the term, well, the house is in probate, or Okay,
let me explain that.
What is probate? What does that mean?
Probate is the legal process by which property that belonged to a deceased person is transferred to those who are alive. If you have a will, that will often still needs to be probated. A lot of people think if you have a will, you avoid probate. No, that is not true. If you have a will and you have property that has to be probated, i.e. there's no beneficiary designation on it, there's no transfer document, like if you have a brokerage account, you can have a transfer on death designation, which you should do on all your brokerage accounts unless you're leaving it to a minor. If you have nowadays with Virginia and D.C., you can do a transfer on death deed, and that is huge.
That's new, right?
That is brand new, and it's going to help a lot of people to avoid probate. Because a lot of times when people come to me, the house is the only thing we're not able to transfer without going through probate. A lot of people have adult children that they want to get their property. And so I say you can do payable on death beneficiary designations there. You can have transfer on death designations on your brokerage accounts. Now you can do a transfer on death deed, and that will help to avoid probate. I still insist you want to have a will, because invariably there's some asset that you didn't provide for, and then it has to be probated. And particularly if you want your estate not to go by what we call intestacy. Intestacy is the law that will govern the distribution of your estate if you don't have a will. Okay? So let's say you have a will, and it says, I have 5 children, but I only want 4 of them to inherit from me. Or I only want 1 to inherit from me. And that could be for any number of reasons. It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Right.
You gave the other child so much while you were alive.
Right.
You know? Maybe the other child is disabled, and they're getting government assistance. That's a big one. People on SSI are getting some kind of income limited government assistance. When they receive an inheritance, that inheritance may go back to the government, you see. So there may be reasons why you don't name a particular person that aren't negative. You know what I mean? Okay.
That's right. Like you just left him out.
But I like to say in the will why you don't.
Right.
You know, in a nice kind of way.
That's important.
You know, I think that's important because feelings are important. And the family that survives you, you want them to feel good. You don't want them to be resentful or jealous because you gave everything to one and didn't give anything to the other one. You see what I mean? So, anyway. If you don't have a will, then the law of intestacy governs. Every state's law says this is who gets your stuff if you don't have a will. Okay? Each state is a little bit different. For example, I have a gentleman who came in my office recently. His wife died. His wife had no children. Okay? They had a house, but for whatever reason, she never put his name on the house. Okay, could be any number of reasons.
So what happened to that house?
Well, what's going to happen is we have to open a probate. Her parents are still alive, though. In D.C., her parents are going to get 1/4 of the value of that house. In Maryland, the parents get 1/2 of the value of that house. You see.
What happens to the other half?
Well, it goes to the spouse.
Okay.
Okay, but a lot of people assume if I'm married, I get everything. You know, especially if you don't have any children. No, the law of intestacy governs, and that's something that's a surprise to a whole lot of people. If you had a will, though, and you said it goes to my spouse, then they get it. Okay? When we come back, we'll continue to educate you on these different things that are real important. This is Ethel Mitchell. We're going to go to break right now.
News updates on the web at WOLDCnews.com.
Elevate your mind. Elevate your spirit at Elevate.com. Discover keys to improve your finances, health and fitness tips, and daily articles to uplift your spirits throughout your day. Build yourself for better living. Enter into serenity. Experience growth. It is all here at Elevate.com. Visit www.elev8.com today. Elevate.com. Empowering you.
Owning and caring for a home comes with a lot of to-dos. Fix the AC, build a deck, remodel the kitchen. Whatever your home improvement need, Home Advisor can help you find a pro you can trust to get the job done right. Go to fixitfast.homeadvisor.com for instant access to top-rated pros in your area, including electricians, handymen, remodelers, whatever type of home pro you need. Home Advisor is absolutely free to use. At Home Advisor, you don't have to search through a long list of pros. With just a few clicks, Home Advisor HomeAdvisor matches you with pros who provide the exact services you need. You can read customer reviews of the pros, even use the cost guide to find out what hundreds of other home projects cost in your area. And because HomeAdvisor knows it's important to find a pro you can trust in your home, they conduct background checks on their service professionals. It's just one of the reasons more than 25 million homeowners have used HomeAdvisor. Go to fixitfast.homeadvisor.com to find the right pro for your project. That's fixitfast.homeadvisor.com.
HelloBeautiful.com is the website for today's black woman.
Whether you follow the power moves of Michelle Obama and Oprah,
or just want to keep up with the Braxtons and basketball wives.
Whether you need some help with your outfit,
or if you want to clown on someone else's.
Hello Beautiful is helpful hints and guilty pleasures.
Hello Beautiful keeps you connected and gives you a break.
For every part of you, HelloBeautiful.com.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now. 800-359-3360. 800-359-3360.
Hi, my name is Stanley, and I've been arrested for stealing shoes. I didn't really steal them, but I've been sent to Camp Green Lake anyway. The worst punishment a kid could get. And at Camp Green Lake, we dig holes. Lots of holes. I've only been here a short time, but I think the camp director is up to something. I'm Stanley Yelnats, and I'm covering more than dirt at Camp Green Lake. Explore new worlds. Read my story in the novel Holes by Louis Sacker. For other great book ideas, visit your local library or log on to literacy.gov. Brought to you by the Library of Congress and the Ad Council.
Do you have unfiled tax returns or owe the IRS or state more than $10,000? If you don't take action now, your tax problem is going to get worse, much worse. Seizure of property, bank levies, wage garnishments, and potential criminal prosecution. And if you owe the IRS back payroll taxes, chances are you will be visited at your home or business by an IRS agent. Don't become paralyzed by fear. Take action now. Call the experts at U.S. Tax Shield for help. Our team of experienced tax attorneys can get you protected, stop collections, and negotiate a permanent settlement with the IRS and state, potentially saving you thousands of dollars. At U.S. Tax Shield, our tax advisors will review your case for free, inform you of your rights, and give you a guaranteed quote. No games and no tricky upsells. That's why we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau and thousands of satisfied clients. Put an end to your torment. Get protected. Get the Shield. Call U.S. Tax Shield now at 800-656-9393. That's 800-656-9393. 800-656-9393.
News Talk 1450 WOL-AM, where information is power.
Welcome back. You're listening to Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. This is Attorney Ethel Mitchell. I am talking about wills, trust, estate planning, how to protect yourself, and what you need to do. You can contact me for a consultation or for work to establish these things or to review what you already have by calling me at 202-772-1988. That's 202-772-1988. Before the break, we were talking about probate and that process. It's a long process.
And we're all learning so
yes.
much. I mean,
it usually takes a year to get through probate, even when there are no problems. It just takes a long time because you have to prepare the documents, file the documents, do publication, wait 6 months after the beginning of the probate. You give 6 months to creditors to file any kind of claims. If no claims are filed in that 6-month period, and if you have a will or it's fairly straightforward, then you can go about the task of distributing. During that time, however, you have to do an inventory of everything that is in the estate. You have to, and all of this is public record, by the way. You have to do an accounting. In D.C., in unsupervised, you don't have to file it, usually, if it's an unsupervised estate. In Maryland, you still have to file the accounting and so forth like that. So it's all very public. A lot of people say to me, I don't want my business in the street. I don't want that kind of thing. And so that's when I recommend a trust, because a trust remains private. But it is
all
a long
of that
process.
could be avoided if a will or trust was set up.
If a trust were set up
in the first place.
Yes, a trust were set up, and the trust was what we call funded. Because when you create the trust, then you have to transfer your assets into the trust. And that's just a matter of having your bank accounts, non-retirement bank accounts, transferred to your name as trustee of your trust. You do a deed, putting your house into your name as trustee of your trust, and then when you die, your successor trustee is able to make the distribution the way you direct. A lot of times when I have a will, depending on the kind of property the person has and what state they're in, and I do practice in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, the person is able to avoid probate anyway with just a will, depending on what kind of property they have. But we try to make sure that absolutely everything is taken care of. Okay, and that's the process. That's really the process. Okay.
Wow, it's amazing, because when you think about anything that happens, at the time of someone's death, and so if it's one less thing for you to have to worry about while you're grieving, and the person who's deceased has their wishes acknowledged
and done and followed.
Legally.
Yeah, and that's another thing. A lot of times, especially if you have difficult families, if you have created a will or a trust and you say, this is how I want it to go, then even if the family doesn't like it, usually what you have said goes, because the law is going to make them follow what you say. And when you have a difficult family situation, it's imperative for you to do that, because otherwise you're just setting everybody up for a fight. And the only ones that win in a fight are lawyers. I'm just being honest with you, because they get their lawyer, you get yours, you're in front of the court, you're being billed and all like that.
Pay more money.
Yeah. It just is not good. And emotional stuff starts coming out. So a lot of stuff don't make no sense. And Judge, who is it? Fern Sadler, who handles, who's in the D.C. Superior Court, said her worst cases of domestic violence have to do with probate, which surprised me.
Wow.
I was totally surprised at that.
That is a shocker.
Families fighting about property. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's saying, death brings out the worst in families. I've seen that personally, through some of my colleagues throughout the years. So I know it's real. Ethel, what about, tell us about some of the preparation that goes into a will or trust. So if I'm preparing to come and see you for a consultation or to set up a will or trust, what are some things that I could be doing, our listeners could be doing to, help make that process easier coming into it?
Sure. I usually will send people what's called a new client information sheet. And what that does is it asks you to put down, of course, your name, address, phone number. If you're married, if you have children, their names, address, phone numbers, and their ages. I just want to make sure they're not minors. And then the names and addresses of anybody that you want to benefit with your property. I ask you to say what your property is, in approximate terms. It doesn't have to be exact. If you own a home, what kind of bank accounts and so forth like that are involved. And then, who do you want to be in charge while you're alive? If God forbid you became incapacitated, and who would be in charge of your estate after you die? And kind of how you want it to be distributed. You don't have to know everything. Okay, but that does help to focus your attention and gets people to thinking about, well, who do I trust to manage my money if I'm sick? Who's going to go to the doctor with me? who is going to be the best person in my family my friends. It doesn't have to be family, you know. A lot of people don't have a lot of family. But those are the kinds of things that I want you to be thinking about and putting together. And either I will email that to you or I will snail mail it, as they call nowadays, you know, that form. And you fill out of that what you can. If you can't, it's okay. But, I mean, if you can, just fill out the things that you can. And then when we get together, we talk. And that's where we can kind of work out the details of how you want your property to go.
So some takeaways would be, it's not expensive to prepare. You don't have to be rich to have a will or trust. You should do it in advance because it protects you and it
protects your family.
Protects your family. And, you know, what else should people know about the importance of this process?
One of the big things that I push is donating to churches and institutions, nonprofit institutions. It's actually very easy to create a situation where you are donating to your church or to, you know, the Howard University, Fisk University, charity, you know, American Cancer Society, whatever you are passionate about or whoever you would want to benefit. You can do something as simple as say in your will, I leave X amount of money to this institution. You can name them as a beneficiary in your life insurance. One of the best things to do is name a nonprofit as beneficiary of your retirement account if you want, because anybody else, there are going to be taxes that have to be paid when they get some of that money. And if you give your full retirement account to, or you give part of your retirement account to a nonprofit, whether it be a church or a school or whatever, they don't take any taxes out of that. So if you're in a situation where you can afford to do that, that's a great one to do. If you are the beneficiary of an annuity, a lot of people have annuities that they can also donate to schools. One of the easiest things is all the residue of my estate. Every will should have that. That's a good place to give to a church or to a nonprofit, even a proportion of it, because you don't know what that's going to be. Thank you, Stacy. Those are good questions.
Thank you. You are just
welcome.
Great. This is, you know, the host, the guest. She's the expert. She's just everything. Ethel Mitchell has got it going on.
This is the only kind of work I do. This is the only kind of law I practice, and I enjoy it. I really like meeting people and working with them to get their assets in the way they want and protecting them. So call me 202-772-1988. That's Attorney Ethel Mitchell, 202-772-1988, and tune in next week from 9 to 10, and we will be with you on Law Talk with Ethel Mitchell. Have a good week. Goodbye.